Hey, welcome to the Elle Russ Show. My name is Elle Russ, and I am a #1 best-selling author and master coach. My intention is to inspire, educate, and motivate you with weekly content featuring amazing guests and solo episodes. Visit my website, elleruss.com, to learn more about me, my courses, free masterclasses, partner discounts, and much more. Enjoy the show. All right, so we're going to talk about the devastating health effects of untreated hypothyroidism. There is also a blog post with this title if you want to share that with anyone in written form. So if you don't know my story already, I am a thyroid expert and have been for over 10 years, helped thousands of people across the globe. And it is because I suffered with hypothyroidism for about 7 years of my life. It was miserable. Wrote a whole book about it. I encountered multiple health issues that stemmed from it. So before you get frightened about what this could mean for you, let me just tell you right off the bat. Okay, every thyroid issue is fixable. I don't care if you've seen 40 doctors. Let me say that again. You've gone around the country and maybe you've seen 30 doctors. Maybe you went to the Cleveland Clinic and the Mayo Clinic and you're like, Elle, these are half my clients. Okay, every single thyroid issue is manageable and or fixable. What do I mean by manageable? Well, there might be someone with a thyroid issue. You can fix their thyroid levels, but perhaps they also have Lyme disease or they're dealing with some other issue like high EBV. That could take a little bit longer, or those other things could cause symptoms, but the actual thyroid problem is solvable. In fact, even if you have an autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid, such as Hashimoto's, okay? Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disorder, meaning your immune system makes a mistake and starts attacking your thyroid. So everyone with an autoimmune disorder has an immune system that sort of makes a mistake. And when you have Hashimoto's, your immune system makes a mistake and starts attacking your thyroid gland. Now, when that happens, antibodies go up. So you can test antibodies, the TPO and the TG antibodies, to see, am I positive for Hashimoto's? Just so you know. It's also achievable that you get those levels down to undetectable levels on a blood test, if not very low within the range. That is the goal of every autoimmune sufferer. If you have rheumatoid arthritis, you want that RA test to show up like you don't even have it. All of this is achievable. It's been achieved by multiple best-selling authors, patients, etc. So that's what you need to know right off the bat. Now, what my work is about, and if you don't know my work, please go to elleruss.com. I've got a free thyroid guide, extremely low cost, amazing thyroid masterclass, and I have a signature course that's very in-depth about thyroid. But there is no shortage of free information that you can get to understand this information. You must understand this in order to help yourself, to help your doctor help you. They don't know. They're not going to read my book, except for the doctors that are in my course right now. Thank God for them learning and growing in their practice. But for the most part, 90+% of doctors are uninformed on this issue. So if you don't learn it, you're going to be screwed. Now, because the thyroid is the master gland of the human body, that's why a cascade of health problems can spawn from thyroid troubles. Okay, so thyroid hormones are not Here's the thing. Thyroid hormones are not only responsible for the production and regulation of your sex hormones, they are also responsible for your body temperature, your heart rate, and much more, which is why when you're hypothyroid, suddenly you have polycystic ovarian syndrome, or suddenly you have, endometriosis or cysts or irregular periods, or suddenly you're freezing all the time. Suddenly your resting heart rate is really low, let's say. So it's the master gland, and then from it causes all of these problems. And if you don't get with someone who understands the thyroid, they're going to be patching you up like a quilt by just treating all of the things that came from the thyroid problem. So let's just first talk. There's such an in-depth tutorial with me talking about this in my thyroid masterclass. And in this blog post that I'm sort of basing this podcast off of, there are some charts and some visuals from my book, The Paleo Thyroid Solution. But what you need to know is that thyroid hormones are produced by the thyroid gland, and that is a butterfly-shaped gland that's located at the base of your neck or below your Adam's apple if you are a man. So thyroid hormones play a critical role. I've already told you about the production and regulation of sex hormones. It's also in control of your metabolism. your fat burning capabilities, which is why most thyroid patients with hypothyroidism have weight gain issues. However, I have had many, many clients that the weight issue is not the symptom that they're dealing with. This is rarer, but it's possible. So you might be one of those people out there who you have all of the other symptoms, but you don't have the weight gain. That's possible too. It's just less likely. And if that is you, you're a little bit luckier because having uncontrollable weight gain along with other symptoms is a really tough road, albeit fixable. So, aside from fat burning capabilities, it's about regulating your body temperature and helping your organs work. Basically, everything. You can't live without a thyroid gland, aka thyroid hormones, and you can't live well without the appropriate amounts. But there are really just two types, okay? We've got T4 and T3. Now, are there other thyroid hormones? They are really not a part of the conversation for a variety of reasons I won't go into here. The main thyroid hormones, the only ones that really matter that you have to look at, are T3 and T4. Now, T4 is the more abundant hormone that the thyroid produces, meaning it produces a lot of T4 and a little T3, hoping that the T4, which is just a storage hormone for T3, will build up and convert. So T4 is just a storage hormone, and its job is to convert into the hormone that matters, the actual biological hormone that matters, T3. And the free T3 test on your blood test is what corresponds with how you feel. That is why most hypothyroid people have a low T3. Okay, so let's just talk about T4 and T3. And again, I'm not going to go through the entire feedback loop here. You can take my masterclass or look up interviews of me where I might have discussed that, where I present charts and I go through this whole thing to get a more in-depth picture, or you can also read my book. But the truth is that the T4 is useless unless it does its job properly and converts into T3. Okay? Meaning T3 is the form that does all of the heavy lifting in your body. So sometimes, and this is where we run into problems, sometimes T4 does not do its job. And this is when patients suffer at the hands of uninformed physicians. So if you're out there and someone told you had a thyroid problem and they gave you T4, okay, levothyroxine, which is what most uninformed doctors will initially just do because they don't know what they're doing. If that doctor also just tested your TSH or just tested your TSH and T4 and gave you levothyroxine, you're with an uninformed doctor who could be hurting you at this moment. So here's why. You can give someone who's suffering T4, you can give them this storage hormone that converts into the thing. But if you're not checking to see whether it converts, you can give a patient all the T4 they want and they can still remain hypothyroid and sick. Here's the other problem. Sometimes T4 not only doesn't just do its job by converting into an enough of T3, okay, but sometimes it does its job wrong. Sometimes T4 converts into an inactive form of T3 called reverse T3, and that's when you've got another hypothyroid issue. I had a general hypothyroidism, and then I had a reverse T3 problem. When you have a reverse T3 problem, the T4 in your own body that your thyroid is producing at about 80% will not convert into the active T3. Instead, it converts into the inactive, which keeps you sick. The other problem would be that it's either not converting enough or it's over converting into RT3. So in that situation, if a doctor, which someone tried to do to me when I had a reverse T3 problem, if you give a patient T4 in that situation, they're going to become more hypothyroid because the T4 is not converting. Now, there's a whole host of reasons why the T4 wouldn't convert or not. That is not this podcast. There are a million things to look into with that. Selenium is helpful with conversion. There's lots of other components to this, but that's just the basic gist. And so that is why it is so important to test free T3, TSH, reverse T3, and free T4. And if your doctor is not testing all of those four things, and hopefully you have ruled out the antibodies, TPO and TG for Hashimoto's, then you are with an uninformed doctor. You never take your meds, your thyroid medication, before you go in for a test. If you've been doing that, you've been getting falsely elevated results that aren't accurate either, and your doctor could keep you sick by thinking your levels are correct. So there's so much information about this, and I know a lot of it's overwhelming if you're coming to this right off the bat, this is the first time you've ever heard of me again, check out my website, elleruss.com. So much free information, lots of other interviews of me talking about this, and you can just get and blog posts as well. Okay, so let's just talk about some of the health atrocities caused by undiagnosed or untreated hypothyroidism. And by the way, 60% of people are unaware that they even have a condition, and that's because uninformed doctors take the wrong tests and say, well, it's not your thyroid. So, weight gain. This is again one of the common symptoms and complaints of untreated hypothyroidism. I'm 5 feet 2 inches tall. When I had untreated hypothyroidism, I went from about 115 pounds to 150, 60 pounds while working out every single day and limiting calories. So hypo weight gain occurs because metabolism slows down when there's a lack of the fat-burning thyroid hormone T3. And so this can lead to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and an increase of other health problems, other risks. So here's how normal thyroid fat-burning metabolism works. The thyroid gland outputs mostly T4 and some T3. The body will convert that T4 into more T3 throughout the day. The T3 arrives at the cells, goes to work at the cells, and then the T3 punches into work. They punch the time clock and they get into the cells so they can affect them. Now, a lot of things can go haywire with this process, whether you're on thyroid hormones or not. So this is how it would work whether you're swallowing T4 or T4 and T3, or whether your own thyroid is pumping out the right amounts. But that's sort of the process. Okay, thyroid glands outputting mostly T4, a little T3. Throughout the day, your body converts the T4 into more T3. The T3 arrives at work to the cells and then punches in to actually do the job. Now, there can be a lot of things that go on here. The T4 could not convert into T3. The T4 could over-convert into reverse T3, blocking the cell, essentially, and not allowing the T3 to go to work, which would keep you at a reverse T hypothyroidism state. Fatigue and weakness is another atrocity. So you'll experience fatigue and weakness in your limbs, your mental energy, lack of focus. And again, because the body is lacking in the energy-giving, brain and mood-enhancing, life-sustaining thyroid hormone T3. Due to low T3, the body cannot convert food into energy as efficiently as it should. So digestion is compromised. It's debilitating, this fatigue. It makes every day hard to get through. It's exhausting. Heart problems. The heart needs the T3 thyroid hormone. So hypothyroidism can also cause heart problems. It can increase the risk of heart disease, high blood pressure, heart failure. So when we say that the heart needs T3 thyroid hormone, what we mean is that the heart specifically needs the active form of thyroid hormone to function properly. When the thyroid hormone helps regulate your heart and your blood pressure, among other things, so that even if your body doesn't have enough T3 thyroid hormone, it'll lead to problems with your heart. So for example, let's say you have hypothyroidism, you have an underactive thyroid problem. You might experience a very slow heart rate, low blood pressure, and fatigue because your body doesn't even have enough T3 to keep your heart working at the right pace. Depression. This is a big one, okay? And the SSRIs and the Prozacs of the world won't work. They'll work for 3 months and then they won't work if you have hypothyroidism-induced depression. So hypothyroidism can cause depression, and when it does, once you fix the hypothyroidism, that symptom goes away. And the reason this happens is because thyroid hormones, particularly T3, right, the active thyroid hormone, the one responsible for the fat burning, plays a role in regulating mood. Neurotransmitters are chemical messengers that sort of transmit signals between the brain nerve cells and then other body parts. So the balance of neurotransmitters in the brain is important for maintaining a good mood, cognition, mental, just general behavior. So T3 thyroid hormone regulates neurotransmitter function in a few ways. So first, what it does is it affects the synthesis and release of the neurotransmitters. So for example, T3 increases the synthesis and release of serotonin, and that's a neurotransmitter that is important for regulating mood, behavior, even appetite. Secondly, T3 affects the sensitivity of the neurotransmitter receptors. So for example, T3 increases the sensitivity of the dopamine receptors, which are involved in reward and motivation, and the norepinephrine receptors, which are involved in attention and arousal. T3 affects the reuptake and degradation of neurotransmitters, so T3 decreases the reuptake of serotonin, which allows more serotonin to be available. I know it's a lot, but the bottom line is that T3 affects your neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers. And these things are absolutely important for maintaining mood, cognition, behavior. Joint pain. Joint pain and stiffness is another common symptom of untreated hypothyroidism, and this is because the lack of thyroid hormones can cause the joints to become inflamed. Now, this exact mechanism by which this happens isn't necessarily fully understood, but it just could be due to the effects of thyroid hormones on joint health, just general inflammation, which hypothyroidism is a state of inflammation. Thyroid hormones also help regulate the production of collagen. Okay, so this could lead to a decreased collagen situation, some joint damage. Also, this is likely why you look older when you're hypothyroid until you fix it. It feels like an accelerated aging situation, and it is. Not just because of the decreased collagen, but because of the accelerated glycation based on this disease state. So, low levels of thyroid hormones are in and of themselves an inflammatory state, which can cause inflammation in the joints and all of that stuff. Same with Hashimoto's, can cause some, nerve pain and things like that. If you're having weird stuff going on in your body and you're hypothyroid, that is not rare. It goes away. Again, it all goes away. Infertility and miscarriages are a big one because untreated hypothyroidism can really make a woman have difficulties getting pregnant. And this is because the thyroid hormones are in charge of the production and regulation of sex hormones. So they affect ovulation, menstruation, they affect, whether that progesterone can build up after you're pregnant in order to support that increased thickening of the lining of the uterus to keep the baby in there. And if there's not, it'll keep breaking through and you'll have a miscarriage. If you can plan your pregnancy, obviously that's ideal because you want to rule out thyroid issues beforehand. However, if you do take thyroid hormone replacement for the treatment of hypothyroidism, pregnant people often need more thyroid hormones during pregnancy, and this is to meet the demands of the fetus and the parent. So you really need to get tested like once every 6 weeks and keep up with it like way more often than you would if you weren't on thyroid hormones, because you might need to increase along the pregnancy, and then when you're done, really monitor on whether, you need to decrease what you had increased for the baby. Cognitive decline. So this is a rough one. And if you're feeling like you're getting dumber, that's a symptom of hypothyroidism, but it goes away. So I've written several books. I've done a lot of things. I have a really active brain. I would never be able to do all the things I do if I was hypothyroid. Hypothyroidism affects cognitive function. Okay, so people who have untreated hypothyroidism, you're going to experience memory loss, confusion, poor coordination. You're going to have trouble recalling words or pronouncing words correctly, and other cognitive decline. Like brain fog is a term we often use to describe how it feels to have a hypothyroid brain. You're just kind of staring into space. You just kind of really can't think. Now, listen, there are over 30 symptoms of hypothyroidism. In my thyroid masterclass, my very low cost thyroid masterclass, I have a 40-minute audio in there where I go through all of the 30 plus symptoms that I had, how it felt to me. And listen, there's a list on my website as well. I'll go through a few of the 30: cold hands, cold feet, low energy, serious depression or general malaise, needing a nap every day, constipation, sluggish reflexes, dry, cracked skin, weird hair loss or weird hair stuff or losing curliness in hair, mixing up words in speech, brain fog, forgetfulness, menstrual irregularities, fibroids, polyps, all of that stuff, miserable and long-lasting PMS, bad cholesterol results, low body temperature, uncontrollable sugar cravings, digestive issues, messy handwriting, brain to hand muscle dexterity can be rough. Heart palpitations, this you'll feel especially when lying down and it feels like your heart is pumping and thumping loud, like you're aware of your heartbeat and it feels scary. That's often related to adrenal fatigue and or low iron that goes hand in hand sometimes with untreated hypothyroidism. Restless legs, this uncontrollable compulsion to sort of move your legs. Anxiety attacks, like maybe you've never had an anxiety attack, but now suddenly you're getting them. puffy eyes and face upon waking, general feeling of bloat, and oh, there is so much more. So, untreated hypothyroidism has serious consequences for your health, but the good news is you can fix it. You got to get on this. You can't let any more time go by. Each day, each week that goes time that you're in a disease state, hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's, you are just creating a soup for a cascade of health problems. Now, go ahead, check out my free thyroid guide. You can just go to freethyroidguide.com. You can also go to ellruss.com, click on the link Thyroid Help. It tells you all of the ways that I can help you. There's so many options for you to work with me, whether it be one-on-one or take my masterclass or just take a look at my free thyroid guide. Maybe that's all you need to know. Start somewhere and get on it. No one's going to help you but you. The only reason I am a #1 best-selling author and a thyroid expert and have the street cred I do around the world is because I persevered in learning everything I needed to know about it. And that's what I'm offering you, the cliff notes on how to wrap your mind around this situation so you can help your doctor help you and get treated correctly, whether that's thyroid hormone replacement or maybe you need to do a mercury detox and you just need to change your diet. Sometimes it's very simple. Let me tell you about a couple simple fixes. I had a client once who literally the only fix to their whole thyroid problem and all of their symptoms was increasing their iron storage, their ferritin. Literally was the only thing. Why? Because if you're not taking thyroid hormone replacement like me, let's say, but let's say I take thyroid hormone replacement, but let's say you're not. The thyroid hormones that your own body is pumping out won't get to where they need to go without proper iron storage, and that test is ferritin. Side note, usually the range is 10 to 150. In a range like that, you want to be 65 or 70. So if you're 40 or below, you need to look at it. If you're 30 and below, dire straits. If you're below, it's dire straits. You need to get on it. So that is the other component. Sometimes it's a simple fix. Okay. Sometimes it's just fixing the gut, if there's something that's gone on. So there's lots of ways I talk about getting help through this. The paleothyroid solution was all about, hey, look, let's look at the natural stuff first. Let's clean up the diet. Let's optimize some nutrients. Let's give it some time and then let's retest. Okay. If we retest and things haven't changed, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but let's say they haven't changed, well, then at least the patient has primed their body and given it like the primordial baseline of healthy nutrition and everything so that if the patient then has to take thyroid hormone replacement, their body is prepared to metabolize those hormones properly and get them to where they need to go. Look, this is a very big subject, okay? And it seems overwhelming, and there's a lot of misinformation online. Just know that the best-selling thyroid books have been written by patients. The only other two people I ever even look to or would refer to anyone else for thyroid health are Janie Bowthorpe, website Stop the Thyroid Madness, book of the same name. Paul Robinson out of the UK. He wrote a book called Recovering with T3. These are the only two authors that have I believe significantly contributed to this space, and then myself. So I always mention them. I always want to give them street credit because they have such good information, and a lot of it is very similar to what I think. Even though I think a lot of us have nuances and our opinions on things, those are some other great authors to check out, and also fellow authors who help me help myself save my own life. I remember I had a reading Paul Robinson's book back in 2011, and it really significantly helped me realize that I was not alone in my issue with reverse T3 hypothyroidism and conversion issues, and it was just honestly a game changer. So those two thyroid patients are freaking mavericks. Go check out their stuff too. Go to ellruss.com and find all the ways you can learn about this. You can look, you don't have to become like me where you're coaching people all over the world on this stuff, but you need to know enough to know where you need to be for you. The doctor ain't going to do it. They usually are very uninformed, other than, of course, I always recommend, I love my doctor, Dr. Forsman, on my book, The Paleothyroid Solution. He's also a part of my Ultimate Thyroid course. And He's an amazing, amazing functional medicine doctor. You could always go to his website, middlepathmedicine.com, and take a look at his credentials and then try to find a doctor like that. Or you can reach out to his office. I know he has a substantial wait list, though, so make a note of that. All right, I will see you next week. Hey listeners, over the years, a ton of companies have approached me to collaborate, but I will only promote companies whose products I believe in and that I actually use and consume on a regular basis. So let me tell you about some of my favorite companies that I can offer you discounts for. Rep Provisions, an amazing company doing incredible things for our planet, topsoil, and animals with regenerative agriculture, and it's my #1 source for quality pasture-raised meat and chicken. Visit repprovisions.com and use code L15 for 15% off. I'm also obsessed with a company called Carnivore Crisps. They make a lean, all-natural, and delicious alternative to conventional snacking, made with just real meat and real salt. Totally addictive, and my favorite ones are the beef brisket and the ribeye. Visit carnivorecrisps.com and use code PALEO10 for 10% off. I also love and regularly use Paleo Valley products. They make amazing supplements and delicious paleo products. I use the superfood greens powder, grass-fed beef sticks, the organ complex, and their bone broth bars. I love the lemon and apple. I also use their essential C complex and more. Visit paleovalley.com/promos/Elle Russ for 15% off. I also love Primal Kitchen. They make delicious paleo-approved, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and no refined sugar products, and I use them daily, from their collagen powders and sauces and marinades to their avocado and olive oil. So good, so healthy. Visit primalkitchen.com and use code L10 for 10% off. I also love paleo powder and use it almost on everything I cook. They make incredible seasoning blends, and they also have these incredible grain-free coatings that feel just like crispy breadings that you would have had prior to knowing that there's another way. So visit paleopowder.com and use code L15 for 15% off.